So, welcome everybody to the talk Designing Play for Pigs and Humans. And we are very happy to introduce Kars Alfrink from Hubbub. Do you call it Hubbub or Hubbub? Okay. And this is a network design studio which is specialized in new games for social and organizational change. So, have you ever played a game against pigs or with pigs? You have tried it, okay. So I think it's very interesting because when I started video gaming, it was always against the computer or against myself to have new records. And later I played against or with other human beings, but I have never played with or against animals, and how this works, we'll see.
Thanks, and thanks for coming out at this this early time, certainly for Berlin standards, I guess. So yeah, I'll be talking about this project that I've been involved with at the Utrecht School of the Arts. So I run my own design studio, and then next to that I'm involved with a research group at the Utrecht School of the Arts called Creative Design for Playful Impact. And this project actually is there's more people involved even. There's also folks from the Wageningen University involved. That's a university in the east of the country that has a strong profile in agriculture and animal sciences and that kind of stuff. So these are some of the people involved. So that's me with Irene, who's a product designer, and Hein, who's a motion designer. Our research group is headed up by Marinka Kopier. And then from Wageningen University, we're working with Mark Brakke, who is probably the foremost expert in pig behavior in the Netherlands. And then there's Clemens Driesen, and he's basically to blame for this whole thing. He's a philosopher researching animal ethics and how ethical debates in society are changing as a result of new technologies. And so he was the one that came up with the initial idea of creating a video game for pigs as a philosophical exercise, basically. And he got in touch with us at the Utrecht School of the Arts to see if we could actually do it. Now that's the human animals involved in this project, but of course there's also pigs involved. So let me just briefly introduce some of the pigs we've worked with. There they are. You'll see more of them later on. So these animals are incredibly intelligent, as you may know, and they're as a result, when they're kept in captivity, as you see here, they're easily bored, and this leads to all kinds of problems that farmers have to deal with, such as violent behavior. So they as a kind of as a way to entertain themselves, they enjoy biting in each other's tails when they get bored. Again, when they get bored. Now, and that of course is very stressful to the other pigs. So that in turn has led to the practice of tail docking. So I'm talking about the way things work in a typical pig farm. So typically pigtails would be docked, so they would be cut off at a very shortly after birth, so that these tails wouldn't be so that you can't bite each other's tails. But of course, it's a bit a drastic measure. So there's since I think 2001 there's an EU directive which prescribes the availability of, as they call it, enrichment materials in pig pens, aka toys. So things that these pigs can entertain themselves with instead of molesting each other. But most of these toys are very basic because it comes down to the farmers to actually put these toys in the pens, and they have limited time and resources, and perhaps limited imagination when it comes to these things as well. So you get a typical solution you see here behind me. A few piglets with basically there's just this is just a chain, and then there's just a piece of rope with, I think that's kind of a very strong bit of rubber. So all this stuff needs to be incredibly robust, because these guys are kind of the most proficient vandals you'll ever meet. They can destroy almost anything, and so some of the farmers we talk to, actually they think about this stuff. So they observe their pigs, and they try to figure out, for instance, which link size in a chain they apparently enjoy messing around with the most, but that's basically the full extent of it. And so Clemens was talking to these farmers. Basically, the philosopher involved with this project, he was talking to these farmers about this stuff. So you have this rule, and you need to put these toys in their pens, and how do you deal with that? Also, I should note that tail docking has been the Dutch government has forbidden tail docking, so they need to deal with that as well. And so in these conversations that Clemens had with farmers, at one point one of the farmers, they were just having a conversation at a dinner table, and she said, "Well, yeah, my kids they were just given a Wii and they enjoy playing on it. Why can't our pigs just have something like that?" Just as a kind of off-the-cuff remark, and that really stuck with Clemens. The initial response would be, "What a ridiculous idea!" Perhaps not to you guys, and certainly not to me. But in that setting, typically the response would be, some laughter, and then let's move on to business, right? But it stuck with him, and he was like, "Okay, so this is a curious idea. Can we actually do that?" And again, of course, he was also interested in, once we start giving video games to pigs, how does that influence how we perceive these animals, and how does that change the relationship we would have with them? So that's with that question he basically approached us, and so we were initially just asked to design a game for pigs that would challenge them cognitively, and our interest was slightly different, because we were interested in, we thought it would be more interesting to design play between humans and pigs. And we were more interested in looking at how a relationship between two animal species might change once a game is put in place where they can kind of learn about each other in a different way. So this project has been going on for a while, and last year, the end of last year, we produced a concept video to kind of illustrate our ideas at the time. And so I'll show that first, and then I'll talk a bit about what led up to that video, and also a bit about what we're doing now. so this was we produced this video for several reasons. It was kind of a design exercise in many ways to kind of get to grips with this idea of a game for people and pigs. So I'll talk about how the steps we took to get to this point. So initially, you know, we just started visiting pig farms, and this was taken at my very first visit, and we brought a football, which is a kind of I would say a lesson if you're ever doing field studies of any kind. Just never go anywhere empty-handed. That's what Irene always says. So we brought a football, and it's this. I took this photo sitting in the pen with my camera, and the majority of the pigs were initially very scared. This is basically their first reaction to anything new. They all of them just run to the back of a pen and then just start looking at whatever just entered their pen. But then they, you know, slowly they come closer, and then there's always a few courageous ones that, you know, take the first step forward. But if you notice that, okay, so these guys are some of them at least are interested in this soccer ball, but he seems to be more interested in what's behind that ball and the animal with the weird machine. So, you know, we started sketching, generating ideas, and in the early stage we were intrigued, or we liked this idea of using humans as a source of entertainment for pigs. We were told by the animal experts, the pig experts that we worked with, that, you know, these animals are again, they're easily bored and they need a constantly changing environment. They're kind of, you know, I sometimes think of them like hackers almost. They're like figuring out something, and then once they've figured it out, it stops being interesting, and then they just move on to something else. So humans, of course, are, I would say, much more. If we can use humans to just constantly do stuff, then that's probably something that pigs will enjoy figuring out for a much longer time than many bits of software that we might be able to put in front of them. So, you know, so we have humans trying to entertain pigs over a video connection, or a pig snout controller and that kind of stuff. And we did a lot of paper prototypes in the early stages with humans. And so in these tests we didn't play with pigs, we played with humans, and we asked humans to play the pigs. So to kind of also see kind of their conceptual model of how a pig would respond. And of course we did this with farmers, we did this with animal experts, but also just regular people basically, and you get very interesting results. And this is also just a way to gauge people's responses to various concepts in terms of how intrigued they would be in playing with pigs. And then the whole notion of popular culture and the material culture also played a role. So we made mock advertisements to get a feel for how you would position a game like this, even though the initial aim of this project isn't to produce a commercial product. It is interesting to think about what visual language, basically, when we were producing this video also, what visual language we would use to position this potential game, because we wanted people to respond to whatever we put in front of them as if it was real. So we wanted to produce a video and put that in public, basically, to get a public response. And so we needed to think about how the game would fit in popular culture, basically. So this is Bright. This is kind of the Dutch Wired, with Daan Rozengaarde on the cover, famous Dutch media artist. So here's an advertisement for the humans. And again, these are very rough, quick sketches saying, have you played with a pig lately? And then, of course, we also produced an advertisement for the pigs saying, have you played with a human lately? And although you see these kind of colored light spots in here, we hadn't settled on doing that yet. That's an important thing to point out. We were just coming up with the first image that was slightly kind of science fiction-y, shiny, which was we thought was an interesting kind of juxtaposition with the grimy industrial space that a pig pen typically is. So we wanted to kind of give pigs as shiny a gadget as we would give the humans. It was kind of in all kind of approaches, in all the choices we were making in this project, we were constantly kind of thinking from both perspectives. So we went back to the pen because we were still kind of thinking about what, in terms of the pig interaction, what senses basically would be best to use, what they would respond to most strongly. And so we tried everything. We wanted to. We were open to surprise, and so we tried sound. For instance, here's Arjen, an intern of mine, playing with a broken synthesizer. He's playing music to the pigs, seeing what they respond to. There's Hein in the corner filming everything. We have tons of footage of this stuff. It's a lot of fun to watch. So we were interested in how can you get the attention of a pig, and then how can you hold their attention as well. Those two things were very important. And of course, I mean, you're probably thinking, hello, these pigs, they have a snout, they like, you know, rutting and that kind of stuff, foraging. So of course we considered touch. We were strongly inclined to build something around the notion of touch. So here's one of Irene's wonderful physical prototypes. It's basically a frame with a kind of a mesh on it, and you see this thing sticking under it here. It goes underneath, and it has a hook with a tennis ball on top of it, and so from a distance we can kind of push back on this frame from the bottom, because we were thinking about kind of this force feedback screen that pigs would be able to push into, and then the human would be able to push back remotely. And so, you know, we're working with tangible feedback and that kind of stuff. We were heavily invested in this stuff. I said we were open to surprise. That's true. We tried everything. We tried smell and all kinds of stuff, warmth. But we were heavily invested in doing something with touch. But this worked out. This didn't go down well. We did not get nice results here where we were like, we're actually playing with these animals. There's a kind of a back and forth happening. But we also tried light, kind of on a whim. We brought some mag lights with colored filters, and I also brought a laser pointer. And I'll show you what happened when we played with that.
Ze volgen hem gewoon. Ze gaan er met hun neus aan zitten. Oh, dat is geweldig. Dat had ik echt niet gedacht. Ja, en als ik hem dus naar binnen... De eerste keer dat ik dat deed, schrokken ze gelijk. Maar nu gaan ze erachteraan.
Yeah, so that was kind of a eureka moment, if you will. And it's worth pointing out that again we talked to pig experts a lot beforehand, and they've tried all kinds of stuff as well. They were slightly surprised to see this themselves. So we were sort of doing science as well. That felt really good. Of course, these aren't kind of results that you would be able to publish in a scientific magazine just yet, but it is exciting for them as well to see this. So that was a big surprise. So at this point, this was kind of a turning point, and we abandoned this notion of touch, and we went with this idea of playing with light. So you've seen the video, and so when you see the pigs playing in the video, they're actually playing with a laser pointer and some of that stuff. So the graphics were put in there afterwards. But they are actually playing with light. That's, I think, important to point out. So you might be wondering why we just didn't go ahead and build the game right away. Why can't we play that game right here, right now? And we wanted to make this video, amongst other things, because we wanted to have a kind of a chance to think through the details of the design. And so if you want to kind of render it realistically in a video like this, you need to think through every detail before you start building something. So also, when you want to make a film like this, to an extent, you need to make stuff as well. So for example, the view of the pig through the iPad with this kind of nice blurry effect, where you spent a lot of time experimenting with various types of glass that we would shoot the video through. This is something that Irene spent a lot of time on. This is actually one of her sons modeling one of the materials that we considered. We didn't go for this one, but we had a lot of samples that were like constantly going like this to see if what the right distance would be when it kind of a snout would come into focus and that kind of stuff. And so this respects the wish of some farmers for some obscurity. But also we had this vision of giving people the sense that they're very close to these animals, where in fact they're not. They're very remote from them. The other reason why you might want to do something like this is that it allows you to kind of envision a best case scenario without any technical constraints. Because as you can imagine, there's a lot of technical details that go into building a system like this that you'll need to deal with. But we wanted to kind of deal with the design up front before we started to get into the technology stuff. And like I said, we did want to make something that's very believable, because we were very interested in how people responded to this. Because again, we're looking at how the relationship between pigs and humans changes once you have a game like this. And so just putting a video like this in front of them is a first step for us to get results on that front, right? How do people respond to this? And we got a lot of response. I mean, this when we published the video shortly before the holidays, it got an initial wave, and then afterwards another one, and it's also from across from the United States and everything. Here's just one example. This is a Dutch newspaper, NRC. And it says, the quote here, they're not quoting me, but it's actually, they're quoting themselves, which is, but it's interesting. It says, do you want smart meat or not? Would you prefer smart meat or wouldn't you? And so this, we were very pleased with these kinds of articles, because we weren't actually embedding any of these positions directly in the game. It's just, if you look at the video, it's just a video of people playing with a pig. Right? We're not making any statements about whether it's wrong that they're farmed for meat, etc. We wanted to kind of create this, basically this open concept for people to kind of think through some of these issues for themselves. Now, so this is, you could say, a positive response. We also got emails. The claimants got a lot of these from people that were very concerned about what we were doing, of course. And I think, when you read this, I can definitely relate to this position. And so I would just like to emphasize that we're not doing this to kind of enable or continue factory farming in its current form. That's not our agenda. But we are interested in kind of creating this experience of closeness to pigs, because again, they're very much hidden from the public, right? They're kept in these pig farms away from cities and towns. You don't really get to see a modern pig as an average citizen. So you have no idea what these animals are like, how intelligent they are, and so on. I was very surprised when I first met them and got to know them. that they are at least as much fun to play with as my family dog, perhaps even more so. There's some drawbacks, but they're incredibly interesting animals. I have to say, I also enjoy eating meat. So immediately I was kind of having this kind of internal debate that is actually ongoing with myself about this. So we wanted people to contemplate pig boredom, and we still want to give pigs an active role in this. So this is the whole point of having them play with humans, and also in the game you're collaborating with a pig. So you're working towards a goal together. So you're trying to come on the same wavelength and kind of coordinate your movements, and we're creating a symmetrical play space. So there's just as much information on the human side as on the pig side, and so that's another important point for us. So we want to give them an active role, and instead of directly telling people how they should think about this stuff, we think it's very important for each of us to draw these conclusions for ourselves, because that's much more powerful. That really sticks, as opposed to me telling you how to think about this. So at the moment, we're building a playable prototype. So this isn't just vaporware. The intent was always to build this for real. The video has enabled us to collect more funds. That's another nice thing about a video like this, to actually build it. So we're in the process of building it as we speak. And so that will be a first rough system where we can explore remote play between pigs and humans, and also that's hopefully a platform for even more interesting games than the one you see in the video between pigs and humans. And another side effect of this might be that it could be used to gather data on pig behavior, although that's not the main goal. So animal scientists are still involved as well, and they're very interested in this stuff. But since it'll be playable as opposed to a video that you can watch, it'll hopefully facilitate an ethical debate in society on a whole new level. That's what I really hope. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for being here. Now I want everybody of you to think about a pink elephant just for 3 seconds. Okay, and now for 3 seconds do not think about a pink elephant and continue all the day. Never go back to a pink elephant. And I'm sure nobody of you is able to do this. You will think about a pink elephant again this day. This is a kind of paradox. And our next speaker will speak about paradoxes in games and play if you try to instrumentalize them. And